02:17 hours. North Atlantic. Sea state 4. Wind 18 knots from the northwest. Water temperature 6 degrees Celsius. Visibility minimal under low cloud cover. The ocean looked empty. It wasn't. For the past 6 hours, NATO maritime patrol aircraft had been flying routine arcs across a designated surveillance corridor west of the GIUK Gap, the strategic funnel between Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom. Beneath them, layered inside cold Atlantic water, attack submarines and seabed sensors formed what briefings described as a continuous detection net. Continuous. At least, that's what the slides said. At 02:17, a dark hull broke the surface 14 nautical miles inside that patrol zone. No distress call, no emergency beacon, no mechanical failure. Just a Russian nuclear-powered submarine rising slowly through black water like it owned the coordinates. Within seconds, Norwegian coastal radar picked up the surface contact. ACE transponders nearby flagged anomaly alerts. A P-8 Poseidon crew banking south froze mid-scan as their surface search radar painted something that wasn't supposed to exist there. A submarine, inside the patrol box, surfaced, deliberately. The call went out across secure NATO channels in under 40 seconds. Classification teams worked fast. Hull dimensions, sail configuration, wake profile. Preliminary assessment, likely a Yasen-class cruise missile submarine, one of Russia's quietest and most advanced platforms. It hadn't been detected entering. It hadn't been trailed. It hadn't been pressured to surface. It chose to rise, and that detail changed everything. Rewind 36 hours. Russian Northern Fleet activity had increased at Severomorsk. Satellite imagery showed support vessels repositioning. SIGINT analysts noted subtle communications shifts consistent with submarine deployment, but nothing extraordinary. No elevated readiness posture. No visible aggression. Routine movement. That's how modern maneuvering begins. NATO's Atlantic surveillance grid, fixed seabed arrays, maritime patrol aircraft, rotational destroyer patrols had been operating at steady tempo. Predictable cycles. Scheduled maintenance windows, aircraft refuel patterns that any patient observer could model. The grid wasn't weak, but it wasn't random, and submariners study patterns the way chess players study openings. 01:52 hours. A U.S. Navy P-8A Poseidon executed a standard magnetic anomaly sweep over a convergence layer where warm Atlantic currents met colder northern water. Sonobuoys deployed earlier in the evening reported nothing beyond ambient merchant noise and biological interference. Acoustic confidence, high. 16 minutes later, a 9,000-ton Russian submarine surfaced inside that same zone. No emergency ballast purge. No chaotic ascent. Controlled. Measured. Intentional. The submarine remained on the surface for 11 minutes. 11. Long enough to transmit a routine identification signal on open maritime frequency. Long enough for NATO aircraft to visually confirm hull markings. Long enough for every operations center from Norfolk to Northwood to understand the implication. Then it submerged again, calmly, without acceleration, disappearing beneath water that NATO believed was fully monitored. No pursuit contact was established. The track was lost within 7 minutes. What shocked commanders wasn't the surfacing itself. Submarine surface. What shocked them was the geometry. To appear where it did, the Russian boat would have had to exploit a sensor recalibration window, navigate thermal layers that distorted passive sonar returns, cross beneath overlapping patrol arcs without triggering classification. That isn't luck. That's rehearsal-level precision. Because if a submarine can enter, wait, and surface at will inside a designated surveillance corridor, then the corridor isn't sealed. It's observed. And observation can be studied. Inside NATO's Combined Maritime Command, the reaction wasn't public anger. It was silence. Data replay. Acoustic reanalysis. Every sonobuoy recording from the previous 8 hours was scrubbed at enhanced resolution. Analysts searched for microanomalies, slight harmonic deviations, flow noise signatures, propulsor cavitation artifacts. They found something. A faint irregularity 43 minutes prior. Logged, dismissed, reclassified as biologic interference. It wasn't biological. It was human. And it had been there long enough to surface when it chose. There was another possibility. More unsettling. The Russian submarine might not have been alone. Modern undersea doctrine increasingly includes seabed systems, deployable sensor nodes, autonomous vehicles, temporary acoustic relays. If the boat deployed hardware before surfacing, it wasn't just demonstrating access. It was mapping response time, testing signal latency, measuring scramble intervals, which means the surfacing wasn't a provocation. It was a calibration. 03:10 hours. 2 NATO frigates adjusted course toward the last known coordinate. A British Astute-class submarine was retasked quietly. Air patrol density increased, but escalation was avoided. No live-fire drills. No public statements. Because the worst response to a controlled demonstration is panic. Professional navies adapt. They don't posture. Over the next 48 hours, 3 quiet changes occurred. Sensor maintenance cycles were permanently randomized. Patrol arcs became irregular, breaking predictable geometry. A fleet-wide acoustic profile update was issued, not just for the Yasen-class, but for environmental masking signatures previously ignored. The update included a note in classified distribution. Assume rehearsal-level proficiency. That single line carried more weight than any press conference. Russia said nothing. No official acknowledgement. No propaganda footage. No triumphal broadcast. The submarine's brief surfacing had already delivered its message. It said, "We understand your grid. We understand your rhythm. We can exist inside it." The North Atlantic has always been described as layered defense. Air above, ships mid-column, submarines below, seabed sensors listening in silence. But water bends sound. Thermal layers create acoustic shadows. Maintenance creates blind minutes, and blind minutes are enough. A submarine doesn't need invisibility. It needs timing. Strategically, the event didn't change missile balance. It didn't shift deterrence posture overnight. But it altered something more subtle. Confidence. Because surveillance networks depend as much on belief as hardware. If commanders believe the net is continuous, decision-making becomes assertive. If doubt enters, caution expands. And caution changes tempo. What surfaced that night wasn't just steel. It was a reminder that in contested oceans, control is temporary. Detection is conditional. And dominance is always being tested. The Russian submarine didn't fire a missile. It didn't threaten shipping. It didn't cross into territorial waters. It surfaced. That was enough. Weeks later, the patrol zone looked the same on maps. Same coordinates, same boundaries. But beneath the surface, patterns had shifted. Aircraft flew at irregular intervals. Submarines repositioned without predictable cycle. Sensor recalibrations no longer occurred in synchronized blocks. The curtain had been pulled back once. It would not be pulled back the same way again. Because the lesson wasn't about vulnerability. It was about adaptation. The ocean doesn't reward certainty. It rewards patience. And the submarine that surfaced inside NATO's patrol zone didn't win a battle. It exposed a gap. A small one. A correctable one. But a real one. And in modern undersea warfare, reality matters more than rhetoric. If a submarine can surface without pursuit, the patrol zone isn't a wall. It's a curtain. And curtains can be moved by those who understand timing. The Atlantic remains contested. The sensors remain active. The patrols continue. But somewhere beneath cold water, submariners are studying the new patterns already. Because the next surfacing, if it comes, won't be random. It will be measured, just like the first. And the commanders who watched that hull rise at 0217 understand something now that they didn't before. The ocean is never fully controlled. It is only temporarily understood.